Peace, family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk to my chosen ones about how the opposition will use guilt as a weapon against you. They will guilt trip you. They will guilt you into things. They will guilt you away from things. That is like one of their go-to tactics. It isn't one of their hugest ones, but it is up there in the upper echelon. And I think we all can kind of notice and see it a lot today's society. And one huge example that we could use for today's society is like everyone has two renters, you know. You have the male and the female renters, you know, your ancestors, whatever words you want to use to enjoy it, you know what I'm saying? But we all know we have those. But getting to your mother's side, or let's just stay with the moms and we'll get to the pops later. So like for me and my moms, I had to always be concerned with, after getting away and taking my space, I always had to be concerned with, for a little while, I don't know why I made it my concern, I guess because it was just part of my journey. Anyways, I used to be concerned about if I'm making the right decision by feeling like I need to take space away from my own moms, right? Because in her space, there was a lot of, she was very good at wording things of how to make me feel guilty or to move me to do something for her. You know what I'm saying? And I know that I get guilted by her sometimes being in her space. But we also get guilted by society as well. You get guilted by society as well. So even with me being away from my mom's, I still have other people that sometimes come around or be in my space or through the digital world. You know, they may be like, okay, you should talk to your moms. You should do this with her, or you only get one mom. And, you know, it's always this, it doesn't matter what they put you through or what they did. It's always you just have one of them, so you should just go and do it. And that's a tool used spiritually by the opposition to guilt us. You know, even taking space away from her and still having to hear other people. Like, I don't have no jealousy or envy if I see other people enjoying their life with their parents, you know what I'm saying? Because I know I'm doing the best that I can for my mini, so I'm in that position, so I don't have to put myself in the space of being, oh, well, I wish I had that with her. I got it now with my mini, so I take what I have, you know what I'm saying? But you could see in the bigger picture how you are guilted in the household when you in these occult structures. Then when you leave the house of these occult structures, you're still guilted by society if you're not flowing and doing what they're doing. And for me, that's always been a tough one to bounce back and forth on, because it does hold some fact. You know, you do only get one mom, you do only get one dad, you know what I'm saying? You do only get one of these things. But you also only come into this journey once that you're aware of each time by yourself. You know, even if you have twins, you still coming in by yourself. Unless they slice that belly and pull both of y'all at the exact same time, you still coming through that portal one at a time. You know what I'm saying? So and that's just like, I wanted to use the parents and society for that one as a bigger example. But we all know that you got friends that's going to guilt you. You got associates, spouses, people you deal with, talking to, that like to use the guilt shit against you, you know. And for me, it's always been like, if I have to guilt somebody to make them feel bad, then that has to be some kind of form of manipulation. I'm trying to make them feel bad and guilty for something that either passed or something that they didn't do, but I just want them to feel guilty about it, you know. Or sometimes it is things that you've done, but you should have already grown past that space, you know, or that case had already been dealt with in the spiritual realm. So I always understood, like, out here we got the physical laws, and then within here we got the spiritual laws. I understand that their court structure is based upon our spiritual system that we have within inside as well. The only huge difference between the two is this one right here is internal, it's within. So you know when you're found guilty. The only difference is you don't really know when you're done with your sentencing until after you have kind of been released, and you'll feel it spiritually. But by that time, because it's a spiritual space, it's usually like you may be out for a couple days before you even realize you out. You know what I'm saying? You're not even being held for the same shit that you already had done before. So I do believe, you know what I'm saying, there is a systematic structure which, you know, people do get found guilty and not guilty in this realm, but we already know what we're guilty of and what we're not guilty of in the spiritual realm immediately. There is no skating, scooting, sliding. You know what I'm saying? As soon as that offense happens, guilty, and then you don't know how much time you're gonna have. You just have to ride it. But I just say that to break that down a little bit further. What they have also is, so like people that you deal with in your close space, and I know I dealt with in my close space, they would like to use the guilt shit to make me feel bad or feel guilty for not going somewhere with them. You know, maybe I didn't want to go to, you know, some location that was just, or do something that was just, it was not in my frequency. I'll just put it that way. You know, it just wasn't in my frequency. I didn't want to do it. So now every time I'm in this person's space, you know, they have to re-bring that up to try to use that to make me feel guilty, to pull me in, to get me to do whatever it is, the next thing that they would like for me to come aboard to do. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's like, you shouldn't have to make people feel guilty for anything. You know, you can be honest about shit and be upfront about shit. And, you know, if you hit somebody with some honesty and it hurts, that's different than trying to make someone feel guilty. You know, like somebody tried to make me feel guilty for using the word retarded. Like, you know, it was a whole big thing about it. But to me, it was like, internally, the universe already told me I wasn't doing it with ill intention. So you emphasizing and reiterating and re-going over this thing isn't gonna make me change my feeling connected to that word. You know, the system has it set up to where they put all these far out situations so you avoid the ones that's close home. Yes, there's a lot of mentally disabled people out here, but if it's not a bunch in your space, then that doesn't really equate to your environment and how you're helping your environment, because it starts within. Then it starts with your space that you're in. You know, it's not to take anything away from that other space, but you're not gonna make me feel guilty for how I use the word and my understanding of it when I don't ride with the opposition. I'm losing views, I'm losing subscribers, all because this is what I chose to do. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody forcing my hand and making me do shit. And I still do it daily and consistently. You know what I'm saying? But they use those examples and try to emphasize that shit to try to set some kind of control in place, some kind of control standard in place. You know what I'm saying? So if I meet them and they can make me feel guilty about using this word, then for now on, when I communicate with them outwardly and I go to use that word, it'll make me rethink about using it, or don't use it at all. I'll just communicate outwardly, and just in my spirit world, I'll skate around it before I project it outwardly. You know what I'm saying? So it's another control tactic. And for me, that's why when you do things and you start building your belief system, like with the natural flow of things of life, it's way more solid. Because when you have those situations happening, you don't have as much energy going into it, because you know that's not your intentions when you're using that word and this person is trying to make you feel guilty. And I just use that as an example. I know we all got different lives and you got different examples you can put in place, you know what I'm saying? But that was just one that I could think of off the top, that, you know, somebody was trying to guilt me into not saying something or feeling some certain type of way about a subject. And it's the same way as for the other subjects I had discussed before. Like, you're not going to be able to guilt me into changing my perspective on it, because I'm follow the natural flow. I already know that this is what it's supposed to be. If other people opt out or opt into other solutions or other methods, then that's them. But I also understand it's only two teams. You're going to be getting your information from this team, or you're going to be getting it from this team. Simple process. Yay or nay. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people like to tend to make it more difficult than what it is, because they forget that, or they choose to not acknowledge the spiritual being that we are inside, even though they're using it and being them and accessing it consistently, or they know they're getting scooted over by the opposition to be maneuvered. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like just knowing the tactics that are used. You know, soon as I feel somebody communicating with me and they talking and I feel like they're trying to make me feel guilty, I usually try to address it. I don't address them and say, hey, you're making me feel guilty, because I'm in charge of my own feelings. You know what I'm saying? But I assess my feelings and the words that I put with my feelings, and then I assess that being, and then how they're communicating with me and the energy I'm getting behind the words that they're communicating with me. Then I have to process how have my engagements been with this being. So it's a whole thing that happens internally within. I don't just come back, hey, you're making me feel guilty. Like, no, that's my job. That's my job. That's my job. If I'm feeling guilty, it's because of, you know, my sensories. You know, that's just the word that I have to place with it, but my sensories. I've experienced this before. This is the word that I put with this sensory feeling and emotion. So now I have to figure out how to communicate this outwardly without saying, hey, you're making me feel guilty. So then I tone into the conversation and I start engaging more direct if I wasn't direct, you know. And it's always ways to figure it out, you know what I'm saying? But you'd have to understand, like, people who try to guilt you and use those guilty tactics and methods, they are opposition. They are riding with the whole nother team, the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? They are the ones that's just going along with the flow, you know. And if they are not the evil, ill-intentional ones, then they the sheep that's just following the flow of the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? So if you follow the natural flow of life, you're not going to be guilting people. You know, you have way too much empathy, or you're just way too aware to know that that's trying to harm someone. Guilting someone spiritually is trying to harm someone spiritually. You know what I'm saying? You're not physically punching them, no, but you're trying to harm them spiritually. You know, you want them to feel a certain type of way, and you want to control that feeling. You know what I mean? But I ain't want to run it up too long, you know what I'm saying? Tapping everything down below. Peace and love to the kings and